السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله. الحمد لله الذي جعل ذكره طمأنينة للقلوب وجلاء لها عن رين الذنوب ومطردة لوسواس الخناس المكذوب. والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد الداعي إلى كل فعل محبوب وأمر مطلوب، وعلى آله وأصحابه المقتفين سبيله على خير أسلوب. أما بعد، فيقول رب تبارك وتعالى في كتابه المنزل: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا قوا أنفسكم وأهليكم نارا وقودها الناس والحجارة عليها ملائكة غلاظ شداد لا يعصون الله ما أمرهم ويفعلون ما يؤمرون. صدق الله العظيم. My dear brothers and sisters, today is our 26th session on parent-child relations. Last week we discussed the need to teach our children um, uh, compassion as one of the key components and one of the key characteristics we need to combat the epidemic of narcissism that is affecting our children. In addition to humility, gratitude, and responsibility, compassion is the fourth characteristic, and we said that this is the one we need the most. And the first step that we need in the direction to recognize compassion is to teach our children to recognize that we are all recipients of compassion. And had it not been for the mercy and the compassion of Allah, we could not survive for 1 minute. We also talked about the need to scrutinize our heart, to check for hardness, to check to see where, if hard-heartedness is lurking somewhere deep within, and not to fall into the trap of taking it for granted. That saying, oh well, my heart is fine, because people tend to take this for granted. That look, oh, I have a good heart. It's other people. We think about our hearts as being perfectly sound, while we cast aspersions and suspicions on the hearts and motives and intentions of others. Whereas the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala alayhim ajma'in used to do the opposite. They kept a stern eye on their own hearts and on their own motivations and intentions, while maintaining husnul dhan for others. Husnul dhan, which is the positive opinion of making excuses, even when you're faced with something that is apparently wrong. You look for excuses. This is one of the things that Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu was famous for. He used to regularly speak to himself and address himself. He used to address himself saying, Yabn al-Khattab. Once a person came trying to speak to him, and he was busy with other business, and he had a whip in his hand, and he pushed him away. And then he realized that he had made a mistake, and he asked the man to take revenge. And the man said, no, I'm not going to take revenge with the whip. Just I forgive you. I forgive you for you and Allah. And he said, no, for Allah. You forgive me for Allah. But then that wasn't the end of it. Then he went home, and then he kept saying to himself at night, he was saying, Ya ibn al-Khattab, O son of Khattab, kunta wadi'an farafa'aka Allah, that you were lowly and Allah raised you, وَضَالًّا فَهَدَاكَ Allah, and you were lost and Allah guided you, وَوَضِعًا فَعَزَّكَ Allah, and you were lowly and Allah gave you honor, وَجَعَلَكَ خَلِيفَةً, and He made you caliph, He made you khalifa. فَأَتَى رَجُلٌ يَسْتَعِينُ بِكَ عَلَى دَفْعِ الظُّلْمِ فَظَلَمْتَهُ, and he's saying that, oh, a man comes to you asking for help in an oppression, and you have oppressed him. ما تقول لربك إذا أتيته, what would you say to your Lord if you stand before him? And he kept saying this, kept so much so that people around him used to say to him, no, enough, you've sorted it out, you've done. And this was, he would also call others to look for excuses. He would say, ولا تظن بكلمة صدرت من أخيك شرا وأنت تجد لها في الخير محملا. He said, do not entertain bad thoughts for anything your brother say or your sister say, when you can find a way for good thoughts about it. you might find that there is always multiple ways to interpret what people say. This was also the case of Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. When people used to praise him, he used to make dua to Allah. He used to turn and worry that ask Allah for forgiveness. He used to say, Allahumma anta a'lamu bi min nafsi, anta a'lamu bi min nafsi. You know me more than I know myself. Wa ana a'lamu bi nafsi minhum, and I know myself more than them, more than the people who are praising me. Allahumma ja'alni khayran mimma yadunnun. Oh Allah, make me better than that which than whatever they think about me. Waghfir li bima la ya'lamun, and forgive me for that which they do not know. وَلَا تُؤَخِذْنِي بِمَا يَقُولُونَ, and do not take me to task for what they're saying. So this is the being worried about your own self and not getting obsessed. So we should be wary of falling into, obsess about others. We should be wary of falling into the trap of self-righteousness and looking down at others, because you will not only protect yourself from the traps of sin, but it will also facilitate more introspection, more looking inside, thinking about your own heart. The time you spend worrying about the motives of others, you could use that same time to worry about the condition of your heart. And even if you find your heart in a good place, there is always room for development, and there's ongoing protection, because the heart is in constant flux. It's called qalb because it's in flux. So focusing too much on the hearts of others will lead to the neglect in your own heart. And what we see of others is also limited. May Allah uh, forgive us for what has passed, but we should change. We should make a resolution that, look, we're going to focus on our heart, because Allah may forgive someone who we might think lowly of, or someone who we might think high, who think that is of a higher status. That person may fall. We don't know. Remember the woman of ill repute who was saved and sent to paradise for one sincere act of compassion. This hadith is recorded in Bukhari. بينما كلب يطيف بركية كاد يقتله العطش. That a dog was circling a well, and it was about to die from thirst. إذ رأته بغي من بغايا بني إسرائيل. That a woman of ill repute saw of the Bani Israel. She saw this dog, فنزعت موقها فسقته. That she took her shoe off and went and got the water and fed the dog. فغفر لها به. So with that one act of compassion, Allah saved her. So self-caution and avoiding judging others too quickly. And this brings us to the second step we need to take in learning and teaching compassion. Because when we talk about teaching compassion to ourselves, to our children in particular, and others, and promoting empathy and compassion, some people question the idea on grounds of the dominant narrative in modern culture, in modern Western culture. The dominant narrative is that nature is red in tooth and claw, and you cannot really teach people to be compassionate. They say that all you can do is navigate yourself safely away from the cruelties of others. They say that compassion is a trait you're born with, your natural disposition, and that people are either born kind-hearted or hard-hearted. And naturally, if you look at society, you see that people do appear to be divided along these lines of broad categories, these two broad categories. You have the soft, compassionate group of people, the soft-hearted, the compassionate, versus the hard-hearted and the harsh group. And of course, the aggressive and the selfish and the more are more in number. They're more dominant, and this seems to be consistent with the red in tooth and claw order of nature. That's one view of the world. That's one narrative of the world. That, look, this is what nature is, and so there's nothing wrong in being hard-hearted and to pursue your self-interest and to be aggressive about it. But the question we need to ask is, can people cross over from one group to another, from one of these two groups? Do they cross over? We certainly do see that in times of crisis, more outpouring of goodwill, as we see now in the lockdown. People are helping each other more, and so there is a shift. But in times of fear, such as when xenophobia is whipped up, we see attitudes harden in the opposite direction. So there's definitely an ebb and a flow when it comes to empathy and apathy and compassion and selfishness and violence and kindness. There is this ebb and flow. And the truth is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us with both potentials, both. Allah says in the Quran, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ التَّقْوِيمِ ثُمَّ رَدَدْنَاهُ أَسْفَلَ سَافِلِينَ. That we have created him in the best, we have created human beings in the best of molds, but then we abase him to the lowest of the low. Then because we can degrade ourselves, which is, in this world we have tests. Allah says, inna hadaynahu sabil imma shakiran wa imma kafura. That we have showed him the right path, how to live. Whether he is grateful or ungrateful rests on his own choices, the choices that we make, because this is Darul Bala. This is the world, this is the abode of test. We are here for testing. Now, how do you teach compassion? Where do you start? As I said last week, we started with by recognizing that we are recipients of Allah's compassion from the very first moment of our existence. Without Allah's mercy, without Allah's compassion and his countless gracious gifts, we could not have come to life. That is in recognizing mercies in the retrospective sense. In what Allah has done for us in the past, he has given us parents, given us life, given us sight, given us hearing, brains, mind, heart, language, hands, fingers, thumbs, and the list goes on. This can go on for days and days. But then we need to ponder also on the continuous gifts of Allah that are perpetually unfolding for us in every moment of our lives, unfolding in us and all around us. Take, for example, every mouthful of food we will swallow this evening in iftar. When we break fast this evening in iftar, Allah will nourish us with each mouthful, with that mouthful, but he will also, with every mouthful, save us from choking to death. Because if our epiglottis fails to shut at that precise moment that food passes over our windpipe, we will choke. So every mouthful we swallow successfully is not only a gift of nourishment, but is also a gift of safe passage from choking. Now, when you think of that, you understand why giving thanks for each mouthful is a good idea. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said that inna Allah la yarda 'anil 'abdi ya'kulu aklatan فيحمد الله عليها, that he ويشرب شربة فيحمد الله عليه, that he that a person eats one mouthful, eats a morsel of food, and he thanks Allah, and he drinks a drink of water, and he thanks Allah for it. Imam Ghazali says, لو قال مع كل لقمة بسم الله فهو حسن. That if he says Bismillah with every morsel, with every mouthful, then that is even better. حتى لا يشغله الشره عن ذكر الله. That so that he does not become negligent of the dhikr of Allah. He said, ويقول مع اللقمة الأولى بسم الله. He says, with the first morsel, with the first mouthful, he says Bismillah. مع الثانية بسم الله الرحمن. And with the second mouthful, he says Bismillah ar-Rahman. And then with the third mouthful, he says Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وَيَجْهَرْ بِهِ لِيُذَكِّرَ غَيْرَهُ. And he should say it loudly so that he would remind others who are sitting with him. So this is just one favor, the favor of a morsel of food in our mouth. And like these, there are thousands and thousands of subtle mercies of Allah unfolding to keep us alive, to protect us, minute by minute, second by second. Of course, the Bismillah at the beginning of your food and saying Alhamdulillah at the end will suffice. You will perform the Sunnah if you do that. But here Imam Ghazali is drawing attention to the need to avoiding ghafla, avoiding heedlessness, not thinking, not becoming immersed in the dunya such that you forget Allah. It is about immersing oneself into the consciousness of Allah's mercy, Allah's compassion, immersing ourselves into situations of compassion, experiencing compassion with full heart and genuine emotion. And this brings us to the next step, what we need to do to be able to teach our children and teach ourselves and our children compassion. This step is to insert ourselves and our children into situations of compassion. Now, what does this mean? In a conversation in that conversation we ended last week with the Sahabi who came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and complained about his hard heart. What was the advice? What did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam say to him? He said, "In aratta an yalina qalbuk," that if you want your heart should become uh, soft, if you want your heart to be softened, then فَأَطْعِبِ الْمِسْكِينَ وَامْسَحْ رَأْسَ الْيَتِيمِ, that feed the poor and put your hand on the head of an orphan. In other words, to soften your heart, you should put yourself in a situation of compassion with vulnerable people, with needy people. Now, earlier in this series, when I spoke to you about the arrival of a new baby in the lap of parents, I explained how this arrival of this baby who is completely vulnerable and dependent on the parent, is that mere arrival activates an intense form of compassion in the heart of the parents. A compassion that is so intense that some have described it as the most powerful sentiment, the most powerful feeling in nature, the most powerful force in nature, a mother's love or a father's love for their child. This is something that even baffled Darwin. Human babies are the most vulnerable among babies, and so Allah has surrounded babies with an effect of compassion. They have a God-given natural ability to activate compassion in the hearts of most people who come into their presence, with a very few rare exceptions, the depraved exceptions. But generally, the natural love and compassion and sense of care we feel towards babies is in reality the mercy of Allah finding expression in our hearts. So interaction with a baby activates compassion. And when it does not, then that is not a fault of the baby, but a deficiency in the adult. As we know from the conversation that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had with the man who boasted about not kissing his children, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to him, "Awa amliku laka an naza'a Allahu min qalbika ar-rahma." What can I do for you if Allah has taken the rahmah, that compassion, that mercy out of your heart? So being in the presence of a baby is a setting for compassion and empathy, and it is a situation for kindness and caring. Now, I want to ponder with this in mind the story of Musa alayhi salam, Moses. Allah told the mother of Musa alayhi salam to do something that was against the instinct of every fiber in the heart of a mother. He said to her, "Aniqdifihi fit tabut." Oh, put him in the box. Put him in the cast that she made. She had gotten a carpenter to build a tiny, small ark type, something that would float, and she kept him there because she wanted to hide him. So he said, Allah is telling her, "Faqdifi fit tabut," put the baby in the box, and then faqdifihi fil yam, and then put the box in the river, in the Nile. فَلْيُلْقِهِ الْيَمُّ بِالسَّاحِلِ, and the river will throw it up into on the side. It will throw it on the back. It will throw the box up onto the bank. يَأْخُذُهُ عَدُوٌ لِي وَعَدُوٌ لَهُ, that an enemy, my enemy and his enemy will take him. And وَأَلْقَيْتُ عَلَيْكَ مَحَبَّةً مِنِّي وَلِتُصْنَعَ عَلَى عَيْنِي, that and I've surrounded you with love from me, and that you will be brought up under my eye. Now, imagine the situation that a mother is being told to put him and let him go in the river. Only a mother who knows that Allah, the inspiration that she got from Allah put that into her heart, that she must do that, and she knew that this came from Allah for the protection of the baby, because she had seen miracles before. They were killing all the babies. The Pharaoh decided that he was going to kill all the boy babies that were born in Bani Israel at that time, because the soothsayers had told him that one of these boys will destroy his kingdom, who was going to be born. And so he started killing, but then they told him that, look, his advisors said, well, look, if you kill all the boys, or all the boys, then there'll be no one left to serve us. They were doing all the work. There were slaves in Egypt. So he said, okay, well, we'll kill all of them 1 year and we'll let them live 1 year. So Harun alayhi salam, the brother of Musa alayhi salam, was born in the year when it was not ordered to be killed. But the following year, it was when Musa alayhi salam was born. That year was the year of killing the babies. So it was 1 year killing, 1 year allowing to live. So in the year that was where they were killing the babies, she got pregnant, and they would send people around to see who is pregnant. But alhamdulillah, Allah through a miracle made her pregnancy completely invisible. No one was able to see it. So she knew that there was something special about this baby. And when Allah told her, when she got this inspiration that look, she had to put the baby, she did. But then the as the box floated away out of sight, then Shaitan came and tried to put sadness in her heart, and she started telling her that look, even if they had come and killed him here, I would be able to bury him and put him in the grave nicely. But now I don't even know what will happen to him. That started to come into her heart. Shaitan started to put that. So then Allah says that وَأَصْبَحَ فُؤَادُ مُوسَى فَارِغًا, that her fuad, her heart became completely empty. In other words, Allah took control of it. وَإِذْ كَادَتْ لَتُبْدِي بِهِ لَوْلَا أَرَّبَطْنَا عَلَى قَلْبِهَا. She would have the instincts of a mother is to run and save her child, and she would have done that if we had not bounded her heart. So we have in Arabic, this is how some scholars explained it, is that there's heart, and then there is fuad, which is the housing, which is around the heart, and then around the fuad there is sadr. So you have sadr. These are concentric rings of protection of functioning. So you can refer to all three. For Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah told him, "Alam nashrah laka sadrak." Did I not expand your chest? In other words, expanding making your heart big, and making it merciful. And here he's saying, "Asbaha fuad Musa, fuad Musa farigha." It's become the fuad, the housing of the heart, has become completely empty, as if there was no heart. You're taking it away in the sense that he kept control of it, so that when she saw this, he was able to still remain obedient to Allah according to what Allah was saying. And then eventually, what happens? The box is taken and then enters. Allah guides it up the tributary into the. He had a tributary from the Nile into his palace, and it went in, and it was picked up. And then the wife of Pharaoh, Asiya, radiallahu ta'ala anha, said that look, وقالت امرأة فرعون قرة عين لي ولك, that he will be a comfort to my eye and to your eye. So do not kill him, because Pharaoh was killing all the babies. So she said, no, not this one. Don't kill this one. ولا تقتلوه أن ينفعنا عسى أن ينفعنا أو نتخذه ولدا وهم لا يشعرون, that perhaps he may benefit us, or we may adopt him. Now, the heart of Pharaoh was completely transformed. Now, the story of this baby Musa is full of miracles, and he was given a special love that transformed even the heart of Pharaoh, such that he agreed to adopt the baby and care for this baby in the palace. This is a man who had ordered that all babies were to be killed, and now he's adopting a baby and guiding the baby. So in other words, what's happening here is that Allah's plan is unfolding over and above someone else's plan. And this is what happens. This is the beauty of Allah's plan. It always emerges from within your scheme. Yakiduna kaidan wa akidu kaida. That people plan and Allah plans, and Allah is the best of planners. So what happens is that the baby now has overcome the hardest heart in the land of Egypt by being in the presence. Now, apart from the miracles of the story of this baby, in fact, one miracle that happened also is that the person who built the box, the carpenter who built it, he was from among the tribe of Pharaoh. So he went and told Pharaoh that, look, this woman has had a box of this sort built to put in the river. It looks like it's going to keep. She wants to put the baby in there. And when he did that, they sent the soldiers with him to find it, and he became blind straight away, and he forgot. He lost his memory. He couldn't remember where it was. So the soldiers couldn't come and find Musa alayhi salam. And when that happened to him, he realized that this is the boy. He in his mind, he realized that, look, this is the, and he accepted. He believed in Allah. He was one of the believers after that mistake, that treachery he committed. Anyway, that's beside the point. Now, here is that apart from these miracles, babies in general have an enchantment, a spell, for want of a better word, that affects anyone who looks at them or comes into their orbit. And this is not just folklore or anecdotes. Scientists have been trying to understand this for a very long time. Even Darwin, as I said, was perplexed. Well, he was perplexed by this whole idea. He admitted, he actually said that infants, there's something about infants that they prompt adults to respond and care for them. And in trying to understand this, we have several scientists who have even suggested that maybe it's due to the structure of the infant face, large forehead and big eyes and small mouth and etc. But which doesn't really make sense, because if an adult has those same features, we don't feel the same way towards them as we feel towards a baby. Scientists here in Oxford also has conducted research on this phenomena, and what they found was that the human adults have a brain region that is activated in 1/7 of a second upon seeing a baby, and not just your baby, any baby. If you come into contact with the baby, there's an area of the brain within 1/7 of a second it lights up. That it's called medial orbitofrontal cortex, and it lights up as soon as you see the baby. And there are several experiments that show this. And then there are experiments with mothers that show that even if you show them the picture of the baby, then brain areas that are associated with positive emotions light up as soon as they see that. So there is something that's going on in the brain. But of course, this doesn't really tell us the full story. But what we know is that our brains are hardwired for this. Although it doesn't answer the question if it doesn't tell us what happened. That what it tells us is that what's happening in the brain when we come into contact with a baby. But the true reason of why does this happen when we come in contact with the baby, that is beyond the tools of science. Science can tell you what is happening in the brain when we interact with babies, but not why it is happening. For that, we have to go to a higher level of understanding, seek a higher level of explanation, the level of the one who designed both the brain and the baby, which we will come back to later. Now, I want to tell you a bit more about ongoing efforts in our world today to teach compassion and empathy to children. Within the last 3 decades, within the last 3 decades, in the 1990s, it started, there's been a revolt of sorts against those who argue that human beings are naturally selfish and violent. And there's been a realization among many social scientists that compassion and empathy is also a natural and crucial part of the human psyche, and it's also crucial for human flourishing, and that we are not just cruel, self-serving, or survival of the fittest violent creatures. There is more to us. We have instincts of empathy. We have instincts of compassion and care and impulses to sacrifice for others, even when it comes at great cost to ourselves. Now, this new thinking has led to a large number of schemes and programs devised to teach empathy and to promote compassion in wider society. And there's been the success of these programs have been varied. However, there is one program that stands out above all the other programs. And this program has received several awards, and it is now an international program. It is run in a long list of countries. It's run several around the world now. And the name of the program, you might have heard of it, it's called Roots of Empathy. Roots of Empathy, which was started in Toronto, Canada by an educator in 1996. And please don't be upset that I'm speaking of this sort of thing on the Friday sermon. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "Al-kalimatu hikmatun." الكلمة الحكمة ضالة المؤمن حيثما وجدها فهو أحق بها, that the wise word is the last property of the believer. So wherever he finds it, he has more right over it. Now, in relation to this Roots of Empathy program, that what actually happened was that a kindergarten educator and teacher in school, she was an educator, who found that children between 7, 8, and 9 year olds were being very aggressive and bullying each other. And this coincided with a massive drop of empathic reactions in society. People were not exercising. There was a tangible decline in empathic behavior, and this was certified statistically. There was a researcher who was studying it for many years, from 1979 to 2009, and she was studying university students, having conducting tests with university students in all these years, from 2009, from 1979 to 2009. And what she found was that there was a drastic reduction, there was a decline in perspective taking and in empathy, in empathic behavior by 48%. There was a 48%, so nearly half of a drop in the society. So what this research, what this educator decided to do was she tried to look for someone who could inspire these children who are bullying each other and being very aggressive. She decided to look for someone who could inspire empathy and inspire this compassion in the children. And the best teacher she found was a tiny one. The best teacher she found was a 4-month-old baby. And what did she do? She brought the baby into the classroom and placed the baby onto a large green blanket and have the children sit around the blanket and the baby in the middle, and then ask the children questions about the baby, talk to the baby, asking them about what the baby is feeling, what do they think the baby feels, what do they think the baby wants, why does the baby do this, why does the baby do that, how does the baby feel, and then how do they feel in themselves, and how do they feel about each other. And what happened was that the results of this, and the program is a 27-week program, the baby grows through the years, through the entire year, from 4 months on. From 4 months old, the baby sits on the carpet and plays with, and they all interact with the baby, with the mother and an instructor. And in these 27 weeks, there's a development that goes as the baby grows. The children are monitored, and what they found was dramatic results, a massive reduction in aggressive behavior, and bullying almost completely wiped out from. And then this program took on. It's known as the most effective program for teaching empathy and compassion right now for children. Because what they found was that when empathy goes up, the children became very, very empathic, and in taking perspective of others, thinking about putting themselves in other people's shoes, putting themselves in the baby's shoes, allow them to develop that compassion that they needed to for interacting with other children in the school. And so when the empathy goes up, bullying, aggression, violence goes down, and pro-social goes up. The violence and the bullying goes down, and pro-social behavior increases. So what this tells us is that immersion into a situation of something of compassion, something that it solicits, that causes compassion, such as being in the presence of a baby, teaches children to be empathic and compassionate. And this program has been rigorously assessed, and through there've been randomized control trials, longitudinal studies, and it is consistently shown to reduce aggression and bullying and increase in sharing and inclusive, helpful behavior. But with time, as we know, as with all psychological interventions, they wear off. When the intervention stops, the effects of this particular program last for about 3 years, but the experience with the baby obviously fades in the mind of the children as they grow up. Now, to come back to taking our thinking about compassion to the higher level, taking it to the level of the one who created the brain and the one who created the baby. What do you think would happen if the children in that classroom, while triggering their empathy by talking to them about the baby, were also connected with Allah, with questions such as, why do you think we love babies? Do you know Allah loved babies? Do you think Allah knows you love the baby? Do you know that Allah made us able to love the babies? Do you think we should thank Allah for the love of babies? Because children know Allah instinctively. If you say to a child that Charlie will know what you're doing, they will ask you, who is Charlie? But if you say to a child that God will know or Allah will know what you're doing, they will not ask you who is God or who is Allah. They know intuitively, instinctively, because of a previous conversation they had with Allah before they came to this earth. Now, Alhamdulillah, we can all run now programs in our homes with our own children. When our children are programs of this sort, we can to connect them with Allah. If discussions, and this is what I want you to do at home with your children, talk to them about Allah and talk to them about the feelings of compassion and talk to them about situations of compassion. Because when our children are connected with that sense of empathy and feeling of compassion to its original source, which is Allah, then inshallah it will not fade from their mind in 3 years or 4 years or 50 years. Why? Because Allah rewards those who are grateful for their favors, for the favors He has given them. If you recognize a favor and express gratitude for a favor, for a gift, for a blessing that Allah has given you, Allah increases it. لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. So if you connect it to the original source, it will multiply. You will begin to see mercy and compassion in many more places than with the baby. Because Allah's rahmah covers everything. وَسِعَتْ رَحْمَتِي كُلَّ شَيْءٍ. Allah's mercy covers everything, and you will be able to see it. You'll be able to recognize the mercy of Allah. Allah will increase you in your mercy because you're connected to the source. The source is Allah. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to spend time with children. He also used to carry around his baby. There's reports, his granddaughter. He would carry her while he's praying and put her down to do sajda and pick her up again. And he also used to interact with the babies, with infants. But one particular thing he used to do is that he used to draw a connection. He used to connect them with Allah and with the love of Allah when he had them with him. And he used to do so loudly so that people in and around where he is with the baby would hear what he is saying, would hear this connection back to Allah. عن عدي قال سمعت البراء رضي الله عنه قال رأيت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم والحسن على عاتقه ويقول, that he saw Hassan is on the neck of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, and he is saying, اللهم إني أحبه فأحبه. Oh Allah, I love him, so you love him too. So connecting with the love of Allah is connecting children with the love of Allah is a situation of compassion, of increasing compassion. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال لحسن اللهم إني أحبه فأحبه وأحبب من يحبه. He's saying here again, it's all about love. He's saying, look, with the child, with Hassan, he said, one of the dua he used to recite when the child is with him, Allahumma inni uhibbu. Oh Allah, I love him. You love him. فأحبه وأحبب من يحبه. And love anyone who loves him. So creating a sense of connection with the source of love, the source of compassion, and making it known to those around you. And this was not only with his own grandchildren, with other children as well. We have the report of أسامة بن زيد عن أسامة بن زيد رضي الله عنه قال كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يأخذني, that he used to take me, فيقعدني على فخذه, and he put me to sit in his lap on one knee, ويقعد الحسن ابن علي on the other, and the son of Ali, Hassan, is on the other فخذه الآخر ثم يضمهما, and then he would hug them both. ثم يقول اللهم ارحمهما. Oh Allah, have compassion with them. Oh Allah, فإني أرحمهما, that oh Allah, I love them. My mercy is with them. And another riyah, اللهم إني أحبهما فأحبهما. Oh Allah, I love them, so you love them. So in summary, the message for today is that empathy and compassion is something we can learn to increase, and we can learn to increase it in our children. All it takes is connecting to the source, immersing ourselves into situations that demand compassion. And by that I mean by being in the presence of the vulnerable. Babies, above all, above their cute smiles and giggles, they are completely vulnerable, independent, and in need of help and care. And that is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them. He causes a special mercy to manifest in the hearts. He causes a special mercy to manifest in the heart of those who interact with them. He says, فَبِهَا يَتَعَاطَفُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that فَبِهَا يَتَعَاطَفُونَ. In other words, that it is every act of compassion that between two creatures is with the mercy of Allah. Every act of compassion is with the mercy of Allah. Every act of between a mother and a child, a father and a son, happens with the mercy of Allah. For Allah says that He has revealed 1% of His mercy, just one of His 100 is one into the world. فَبِهَا بَيْنَ الْجِنِّ وَالْإِنسِ وَالْبَهَائِمِ وَالْهَوَامِ. In this, these, in He has revealed this to all. That one we share with the jinn and the men, with the jinn and the animals and the insects and human beings. So every act, فَبِهَا يَتَعَاطَفُونَ, with that one mercy do everyone show compassion. Every act of compassion is through that one special mercy from Allah. Rahmatan wahida. So in a sense, every baby, like the baby of Musa, is covered with an effect of mercy, a love from Allah. Now I leave you with a conversation that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will have with someone on the day of judgment. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه عن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول الله تعالى استطعمتك فلم تطعمني. That I ask you for food and you did not feed me. قال فيقول يا رب كيف استطعمتني ولم أطعمك وأنت رب العالمين. That how can you ask me for food and I did not feed you when you are Lord of the worlds? And then Allah will explain, Allah will say, أما علمت أن عبدي فلانا استطعمتك فلم تطعمه. Did you not know that my so-and-so servant asked you for food and you did not feed him? أما علمت أنك لو كنت أطعمته لوجدت ذلك عندي. That you did not know that if you had fed him, then you would have received that with me. ابن آدم استسقيتك. That I ask you فلم تسقني. That I ask you to give me water to drink or give me drink and you did not. And he said the same, that you would find me. أما علمت. And then ابن Adam again, he says that مرضت فلم تعدني. That I was ill and you did not visit me. قال يا رب كيف أعودك وأنت رب العالمين. How should I visit you and you are Lord of all the worlds? قال أما علمت أن عبدي فلانا مرض. فلو كنت, that you did not know that a servant of mine was ill and you did not go to visit him. You did not to share that compassion with him. فلو كنت عدته لوجدت ذلك عندي. And if you had visited him, then you would have found that with me. And in another riwayah, لوجدتني عنده. لوجدتني عنده. That you would have found me with him. You would have found me there with him. Now, we're all longing to be in Allah's mercy, in Allah's compassion. We want Allah's compassion. We all want to get close to Allah, to be with Allah. He says in this hadith, you will find me with the vulnerable. You will find me with the needy. You will find me with the sick. There we will experience His love, His mercy, and feel empathy and fortify our hearts towards being compassionate in the presence, with the presence of the vulnerable. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you all by increasing you in His mercies during this blessed month of Ramadan, and increase our children in the blessing of empathy and compassion, and protect them from the evils that surrounds us today. اللهم ارحمنا فوق الأرض. اللهم ارحمنا فوق الأرض. اللهم ارحمنا تحت الأرض. اللهم ارحمنا يوم العرض يا أرحم الراحمين. إلهنا، نسألك موجبات رحمتك فلا تبعدنا عن جنابك، فإذا أبعدتنا فلا حول ولا قوة لنا إلا بك. لا رب لنا سواك فندعو، ولا مالك لنا غيرك فنرجو. إلهنا، من نقصد وأنت المقصود، نسألك رضاك والجنة، ونعوذ بك من سخطك والنار. نسألك أن تجعل خير أعمالنا أواخرها، وخير أعمالنا خواتمها، وخير أيامنا وأسعدها يوم نلقاك يا رب يا كريم. اللهم واغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات، وألف بين قلوبهم وأصلح ذات بينهم، وانصرهم على عدوك وعدوهم. اللهم لا تدع لنا ذنبا إلا غفرته، اللهم لا تدع لنا ذنبا إلا غفرته، ولا هما إلا فرجته، ولا كربا إلا نفسته، ولا ميتا إلا رحمته، ولا مريضا إلا شفيته، ولا حاجة من حوائج الدنيا والآخرة هي لك رضا ولنا فيها صلاح إلا أعنتنا على قضائها ويسرتها يا رب يا كريم. اللهم وفرج هم المهمومين، ونفس كرب المكروبين، واقض الدين عن المدينين، واشفه جميع مرضى المسلمين، واشفه جميع مرضى المسلمين يا رب يا كريم، واشفه جميع مرضى المسلمين يا رب يا كريم. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم، وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون، وسلام على المرسلين، والحمد لله رب العالمين. وصل اللهم على نبيه الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. آمين آمين يا رب.